I've always enjoyed the escape of reading a fiction novel, going somewhere else, and seeing another world that isn't my own, and kind of putting myself in the character's shoes and just not living in reality for a little while.
When talking about reading, and literature in general, we tend to think about fictional characters, such as The Cat in the Hat, Harry Potter, and Aragon. But why are fictional characters first to come to mind and not famous figures from history such as Napoleon Bonaparte, George Washington, or Abraham Lincoln? And why are they often overlooked? Surely nonfiction is more important than fiction. After all, we study history, science, and math in school, but we still read fictional novels. Why? To answer this question, we interviewed the advanced placement language teacher at Nipomo High School, Miss Rollinger.
Fiction is important in literature because it gives us an outlet for all the emotions we're feeling, whether singular, individual, or as a group, that we'd be unafraid to say otherwise. And so not only do we get to pour our souls and our hearts and our situations out in literature, but it's a way for us to connect on a much larger level throughout history. We can pass on from generation to generation our own struggles, and it might reach someone 100 years from now, maybe tomorrow, but literature civilizes people.
As a teacher, which do you think is more valuable, fiction or nonfiction?
I'm going to say that they both have to exist. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but nonfiction is just as valuable as fiction. But I would say that fiction might have a little bit of an edge because it has the capability of drawing in a younger crowd. For example, you know, The Hunger Games is a fiction book, and Harry Potter is also a fiction book, and it reaches out to young people. And I don't know a nonfiction book that's been able to do that as much as fiction has. Everything has its place and its own balance, but fiction in particular talks about the struggles in an artistic and a very personal way that I don't always think that nonfiction can mirror. But I do feel that nonfiction is just as valuable in its own right. It just doesn't maybe perhaps speak as to many people as fiction does.
Which genre do you think students benefit from the most?
Benefit from the most? That's a hard question because I think many students benefit from both genres, but I think in terms of learning nonfiction, in terms of self-exploration, I definitely think fiction would be the genre that students learn the most from. So what I think students benefit from reading fiction is that they get to interpret for themselves the message that the author is giving them, rather than, you know, just getting a display of facts from a nonfiction book. If you're reading a fiction novel, you might get a completely different interpretation of the story, of the theme, than somebody else. Your friend might read something else into it. And the cool thing is that when you get together and discuss what each person has learned from the book, you really start to see how, oh, I didn't even, know that, or, that's something I didn't pick up. And it's cool to have that discussion and dialogue about the messages that you didn't pick up that someone else did, and to start to see how there's so many layers in a fiction novel if it's done well.